All right, Chris Simmons first across the line tonight, followed closely behind by Derek Webster. Good to see everybody here. This is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. I'm going to be your engineer this evening on this ride with the Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles crew. Great guests lined up. They're getting the bikes fired up now, and we're going live in 3 minutes, 50 seconds. Stick around. Mustafa Gabriel with us tonight, Jimmy Bradley from Milwaukee, Walter Bednarski, Hump Day in New Jersey. Keith Cronoff says it's Cannonball time. Pat Fitzgerald listening from St. Louis. Dothan, Alabama, down by my brother Barry. Dave Courier, number 64 in North Dakota watching. Chase, number 22, Don Gilmore with us. Hey, I asked the question, who went for a ride today? Somebody tell me a riding story, because man, it was beautiful and sunny in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you know that's rare as hen's teeth. And I didn't get to get out for a ride at all. Mustafa in from Libya. Nancy Keener listening from Maryland. Tom Banks, number 21 with us. Andrew Rank in the house. Going to be a great show tonight, man. That Cannonball crew is all ready for a good one. One thing I'm going to ask you guys, do your part and hit the like and share button. Help your friends and neighbors know that we're going live with two-wheeled entertainment. Marty's Avco, Dayton, Ohio. Out by my brother Pat Patterson, the boys at Lead Sled. Vinny, Brazil, fantastic. That's so great. Walter Benarski riding tomorrow. Road Buddies MC Libya. Chris Simmons, number 89 with us. Minute and a half and we're going live with this one. Steve Henderson in the house. Hey, if you guys are wondering all these shout outs and everything, you can get involved with the Motorcycle Cannonball just like any of the shows here at Source Media. Throw your question, comment, or concern right onto the comment box where you're watching, and it'll come into the show, and the host will interact with that stuff live throughout the evening. Derek Webster in from Canada. Rob Nussbaum back in his chair. All right, man. 1 minute and we're going live. Grab a cold drink, kick back, relax. Cannonball Chronicles coming up. Oh my God, that's super bad news. Bill Reed said, sold my shovel today. Got to get the 45 going. Sold the shovel head. That's the day that you cut your hair after growing it long your whole life. 30 seconds. That means it's time to get this one out of the station, up on the track. We're going live with the Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. Here we go.
Well, hey, Cannonball people, what is happening? We are back. That's right. It's Wednesday night. Another episode of Cannonball Chronicles. It just seems like we were here yesterday having the last episode with you guys. Time sure is flying. I know people are getting busy. I've been busy. Yeah. I mean, it's just even kind of a struggle to get here as much as is in our schedule right now. But we can't leave you guys hanging out there. We need to bring you more stories of the Cannonball and Chase, the riders that make it possible, the staff, everybody. Super excited for our guest tonight. Uh, got to meet this guy here just a few years ago. Think the dude's a wonderful, wonderful guy, a true gentleman. Love his style, love his bikes, and love his story. So we'll be bringing you more of that here in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I want to bring in my pal, my co-host, Rob Nussbaum. What's happening?
Howdy, Jason. How are you, my friend?
Good, good. I'm a little sweaty right now. I didn't have a chance to freshen up before the show tonight. I've been outside working in the 100-degree heat, getting ready for the event this July.
I guess it's good it's not smell-o-vision tonight, right?
Exactly. So, hey, it could be worse, but this stuff's got to get done. I'm feverishly working on getting all the equipment fixed and put back in the rigs. So right now I'm working on the sweep trailers, put new tie downs on them, new wheel chocks, just making sure everything's tight, bolted down, ready to pick up the unfortunate dead soldiers along the routes for both the events. So hopefully it would be flipping amazing if we never had to use this vehicle. I would love it. I would love it. I'd love to see everybody make every single mile out there, but we all know that's tough.
How's your pressure washer going?
It's good. It's good. So
I saw a video of you out there hosing down the deck of the trailer. Heard a rumor about some new E-track being installed.
Yeah. We put all new tracking down. I restained all the wood, cleaned everything, just checking the pressures, doing all the safety and everything like that to get it ready for both events. So
nice.
Doing the same thing with the bands, these things are getting ready. Everything's getting to be there. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time before, I have to be in Cape Girardeau to welcome everybody there for the mini chase. And, I just want to get all this stuff done ahead of time.
Speaking of the Cannonball, we had a pretty exciting week here. We finally got Tom Banks's 1912 single. And I hope to shortly be able to put a video up of that running in the test bench. But it's been a struggle. Thank God we had the extra time. But the thing sounds smoking hot. And not running hot, but sounds real good, real strong.
Oh, cool. So, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, so we did a lot of stuff on that. Been busy here in the shop. So it's been good. It's been a good week.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a bunch of these singles running this year. I think it's great that the people are putting the time and stuff into them, to really do a challenge. So really, I mean, it doesn't even matter if you're riding a single. I mean, even any of these motorcycles are a challenge. And just to see people putting everything together now is a real treat,
Yeah. How's your phone doing?
Well, it's become a part of my life right now.
Blowing up?
I guess you could say that. So I've had to, just kind of leave it inside sometimes to be able to get some work done that needs to get done. So, if I don't take your call, it's not I'm ignoring you. I'm just trying to get some stuff done. I will call you back.
There you go.
And if I don't, text me to remind me to call you back.
Because you're easily distracted? Is that what you're saying? Look, a squirrel.
Hell yeah. So
we got a lot of people tuning in tonight. A lot of names, familiar names. David Crum. We saw somebody, Mustafa, I think, was tuning in. I don't know where he's from, but he tuned in. Walter Bednarski's there. Matt Miller. A lot of folks. So I just want to remind everybody what Jason likes to tell you is to like and share. And he likes to tell you to do something special with that share button. What is that?
To mash it, baby.
mash that share button. Tell all your friends about this show. So I'm being told Mustafa is from Libya. So we have somebody listening in from Libya watching us, actually. So
Heck yeah,
that's pretty
heck yeah.
cool. International show.
Heck yeah. So we announced something pretty cool. Last week, everybody got kind of a sneak peek preview on it. We actually made it official this week that we are putting a program together for both the Cannonball and the Chase. We sent the instructions to the riders for the Chase just this morning. We gave them some homework to do over the next couple of weeks. And we've already had a pretty good response of people doing their homework and sending stuff to us. So I think it'll be a pretty neat project. I'm really excited to be working with Chris and Heather on this, and Michael Lichter. And I think we'll put together a really good product that will be super collectible for you guys and be just kind of a keepsake, forever.
Do you want to tell people what it is or not yet?
Yeah, didn't I just say that? We're putting together an official program for both events.
Official program. All right. I must have missed it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I tuned out. I was Jason for a minute. I got distracted. So, you want to roll along with the program here? Well, you got anything else you want to bring up, or?
No, not that I can think of. Just that we've been busy. We're super excited. Hopefully, you guys are out there, riding your machines and having a good time, whether it's a new bike or an old bike, just getting involved with two wheels. So, hey, let's just for a quick second. I know a lot of people have asked me about what was going on, what I did this weekend. So, I guess people that follow me on social media and a few other social media posts, seen that we had a production crew here at my residence and down here in Arizona. So I'm working with a group of people to put together kind of a history of motorcycling series. So we got a bunch of great people here locally together. We had Paul Jacobson, which was a Cannonball rider. We've had TJ, which is coming up on the next Cannonball. We just had a really great eclectic group of bikes, and just went out and kind of filmed for the day and got a lot of great footage and interviews on these group of bikes. So I think I think we'll have a good product to put out this fall for you guys to see on history of motorcycling and old motorcycles. So stay tuned.
Very cool. Nice. I see that Cole Dyster is watching. You know Cole, right?
I do. I ain't talked to him for a while. He must be busy.
He's very busy. But I'd like to introduce the next segment the way Cole might introduce it. And that's
Do it.
Picture is Worth 1,000 Words with Rebecca Cunningham. There's Rebecca Cunningham. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hey, y'all. I'm great. I'm great.
What do you got lined up for us, Rebecca? Something special?
Oh, let's see. I'm starting to get that feeling I get as we're getting closer to something, because I know we've got the Chase coming up in just a few weeks, and then shortly after that, it'll be the Cannonball, and I can just feel it in my bones. I'm getting so excited. So this week, I've got a little short video that was like most of things that happen on the Cannonball. It just kind of happens, and there it is. So I just, turn the cameras on. So one of the riders was having some problems and was worried about how far out the Chase truck was. And kind of struggling to get it all going. And I was the only one there who had a free set of hands, or at least had one free hand. So I was holding camera with one and handing him tools with the other one.
Tell us who the players are in this video. Who do we got?
Oh, well, we've got our, Rowdy. We all love Rowdy. He's just like, his personality really is bigger than life. That's all there is to it. And so Rowdy's in it. And then, of course, my keepers / sidekicks, Kurt and Joe, are there. And Rich Rao makes an appearance. So it's good to see him, at least in the videos.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Let's take a look and see what you got for us this week.
Okay.
Well, now it's just going up and then coming back. Shit.
Not engaging and
That's right. Yeah, I think they're all choked and they're slipping. That's what I think's happening.
10 miles back, Rowdy.
Okay. See if we can find 11/16 inch in there.
all right.
I'm gonna make that 7/16 a little more. She's gonna start. I'm gonna put the gloves on, but I have faith. Hey, come on, Rose. Come on, baby.
That's cool. Rowdy's always fun.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, Rose, he says.
is. Yeah, that's the name of the bike.
That's a pretty common occurrence of what you'll see daily on the Cannonball. Not just to say that, Rowdy's the only person, because he's not. I mean, he's usually pretty solid, but, that can happen to anybody. So just, I think that, kind of the moral of it is, I heard in the background of like the sweep band's 10 minutes out. So it's like, oh, shoot, or 10 miles out. So, you probably got, 15, 20 minutes to try to get something fixed before they get to you and get back on the road. So
And then
I
how
can see the urgency.
much time do you have once they get there? You got like 5 minutes, is it, or more than that?
It really just depends on what time that the sweep truck is on. I mean, if the sweep truck's a little bit ahead of schedule, they'll sit there for a little bit. If they're behind schedule, it's do or die right there,
Yeah, and I want the people out there to know I actually got a chance to ride on the sweep truck one day, and they'll try and help you get on the road unless it's a lost cause.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But we can only spend so much time. I mean, we can't get back at
Right.
midnight every night, because there's potential of other people being broke down and for safety issues, I mean, we try to stick on a schedule, I mean, the people on the sweep trucks know that, hey, I'm at mile whatever, I should be at this mile, or, we keep a pretty good tight schedule.
Cool. Yeah, it's but they are very helpful, and they try to do what they can, but like you said, you don't want them coming in at 10 or 11 o'clock at night either, right? So,
Right.
So, well, Rebecca, you got anything you want to add to that?
Oh, it was a lot of fun to get to help with the mechanic aspect of it. I enjoy that, and I don't get to do it all that often in that situation here at home, I do it more than enough.
Well, I was just going to say, people at home may not know that you do a lot of mechanic work on your own. So it's not like you're just the kind of person to just hand a wrench to people either. You have good knowledge. You have working.
I have some knowledge, but I really do enjoy it. So it was a lot of fun to get to be a helper like that day for Rowdy. So I really did enjoy that.
Very cool. Very cool. So listen, we're gonna take a little commercial break here. Rebecca, thanks again. Great job as always.
You bet.
But we're gonna take a little break, view a few commercials here, and then we'll come back on the other side and we'll talk about the commercials and our guest. So stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
My name's Patrick Maloney. Most all my friends call me Mo. I liked motorcycles and hot rods long before I could drive. I remember looking out the window of the family car when I was a kid, and my mom would see me eyeballing that guy on a Harley and just knowing it was just burning her up. I never had a street bike until I joined the Navy. The Navy was cool. We always had a group of guys. All the guys on the ship that rode Harleys always hung out together. I remember getting off the ship with snow on the ground in Virginia, and the first place I went was right up to that knucklehead and fire it up. Never gave it another thought. A lot of times I didn't have a car. That's how I got into biking. 6 months later, I bought another one. Probably another 6 months later, I bought a knucklehead rolling chassis with a pair of chrome Invader wheels on it and a Jocklid 4-speed transmission, candy red over gold. Right in the middle of a trailer park, I found a knucklehead motor. Bought that motor for $350 in 1982. This isn't just my garage, this is my living room. My name's Patrick Maloney, and I'm a Dennis Kirk garage builder.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm with Banks Brothers Motorcycles. One of the things I want to show you today is our new improved engine puller.
The changes to this machine has been in the arms and in the hands. We put hind joints in the hand to allow rotation of the engine, which makes it easier to get it in and out of the frame. With the angle change, we have equal clamping pressure on them. And over here we have what's called the posi lock, which allows this to be locked in place and the engine can't swing from side to side.
And we're going to show you just how easy it is to pull the motor out of the bike right now. George is actually going to come in, make contact with the cylinders, tighten it down, and he'll pull it out of there.
You lift it up, rotate it, and bring the assembly out of the frame. You see the motor starting to move, and it centers itself. This allows no side play once the motor's in place, and it keeps it safe. It can't fall out.
Visit BanksBrothersMotorcycles.com to order your Banks lift.
Hey, we told you guys we would be back. Anyway, hey, thanks again to our great sponsors there. Without those guys, this show does not happen. Again, thank you to those people, all the people that you see up over here, rotating throughout the show. Again, thank you. Robbie, what do you say we get right into it and bring our guest in?
I'm excited to do it, so let's get it going.
Yeah. So our guest tonight is Mr. Paul Warrenfelt from the great state of Indiana. Super excited to talk to him tonight about his Cannonball experience. He was actually a chase rider and will be on the next Cannonball and Chase this year. So along with that and a bunch of the other busy things that he's got going on, and be able to take a little bit of time with us tonight, I'd like to introduce Paul Warrenfelt. Let's bring in the rider. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Hey, great. Greetings from Indianapolis.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we got you on the show. I know you're a busy person nowadays.
Yeah, but never too busy to talk about motorcycles, particularly really old ones.
Right? Heck yeah. So what's been going on in your world lately?
Well, I did the Cannonball in 18 was the first one. And shortly after that, got involved with a dealership startup. So we opened there was no Triumph dealership in Indianapolis anymore. And I've got this passion, as you know, for Triumphs. And
Right.
I got some friends together and we all invested. And now I'm the general manager. And I found out when you do this, it's hard to find time to ride anymore because you're always working when other people are riding. But it's been a lot of fun.
You were retired, weren't you?
Yeah, I retired and did the Cannonball, and then my wife and I bought a duplex and we restored that and rented it out, and then somebody mentioned to me, well, what about this Triumph thing? There's no dealer around. Let's get some people together and open one up, a dealership. So
let's talk about that for a quick second. What's it take to open a dealership?
Well, I think you have to be a little bit insane to begin with, but other than that, no, it was interesting what happened. So I wrote to Triumph. There's no way, I couldn't find a phone number, so I just wrote to them on their website like a customer would write. And I said, hey, there's no dealer here. What's it take to get one going? And I had a call within less than an hour from the regional manager and who sent me some information. And then we had several discussions. He said, we're talking to several other people, but we haven't made a decision yet. Take a look at this material and see if you think, it's something you want to do. So we looked at it, and it was, it's a lot of money, but it wasn't as much as I thought it would be, and it was doable. And we thought the market was here, which has proven to be the case. We've been really happy with the results so far. But so I remember our landlord is actually a brew pub, which is quite large, called Sun King. I got one of their products here.
Oh, nice.
Lubrication at night. But so we're downtown Indianapolis. We're not, all the other dealers are in the suburbs, and we found this really cool location. And we share the parking lot with this brewery, and it's a large parking lot, easy to get to, right off I-65 and I-70 in the middle, in the middle of the city. And it took several meetings with Triumph, but we were finally sitting at Sun King drinking beer one day, and they stopped. I remember the regional manager just stopped the discussion. He said, Paul, we're going with your plan. And that was it. The rest of it's history, as they say. So then we.
Oh, wow. Is it like back in the day when all you had to do was buy 3 Triumphs and you became a dealer?
Yeah, something like that. So you have to buy a lot more than that. So we're called a flagship dealer, which basically means we only have Triumph, which is unusual. Triumph loves that, as you can imagine, because we're like, it's like the Harley model. We're like super focused, and we're not distracted by also selling, Ducatis or whatever other brand might be compatible with the Triumph crowd. But as a flagship dealer, there's some benefits for us, in the way the arrangement with Triumph is set up. And but we are required to carry the entire product line, all the clothing, parts, and accessories. We don't have to have every color of every model, but we do need to have all the models. So we have about a 3,000 square foot showroom. You can see it behind us. And we have anywhere between 30 and 50 bikes in here, new ones at any point in time.
Wow.
How much is that one over your shoulder right there?
Well, the one that's not for sale?
Yeah, the little green and white one.
Yeah,
that's cute.
I pulled
like
it. Yeah, I pulled that around. I actually bought that to do the next Cannonball at Meekum last year. Jason, I'm sure you saw the bike if you don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1911 Triumph factory race bike. So it was built to do Isle of Man stuff. And I got all excited when I saw it. And I thought, well, this is, it's a 1911. It's one speed. It's going to be a great bike for the Cannonball. But after I got it and rode it for about 5 minutes, I realized it was completely impractical to ever think about doing the Cannonball, mainly because it has no clutch. You have to kill the engine to stop it, and there's no kick. You push it to start it, and you just go until you either run out of gas, win the race, or crash, I guess, whichever happens.
Our engineer wants to know if that came out of Pittsburgh, that bike.
I don't believe so, but to be honest, I really don't know.
Okay. So how long have you been a dealer? That was actually the question. I was trying to be funny about it. We'll get back to that bike, but how long have you had this dealership now?
Yeah, not very long. So we opened February of last year, just in time for a global pandemic to strike. And it was.
But I understand that was not a hindrance for you.
Well, what happened was, so we opened in February, and we sold a few bikes in February, which already surprised me because it's pretty cold in Indianapolis in February. And then March and April, it was completely dead. We would go 3 or 4 days and the phone would ring. And we were all looking at each other like, well, okay, this was fun. But I think it's over. and then May 1st, it's like the light switch came on. And we sold, I guess it's okay if I say this, but we sold 84 new Triumphs last year.
Wow.
Which completely was way beyond anything we thought we'd be able to do.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, and this year's off to a good start too. So it's, it's right place, right time. We got, like I said, a great location, great landlord at Sun King. Triumph's incredibly good to work with. And I think, I think the fact that we're dedicated to them only, they give us, a little special attention, which is always appreciated.
Right. Yeah, I've actually been following the brand a little bit here lately, probably over the last couple of years, of some of the new things that they've been doing. And really, they got a really good product that they're putting out at a very, very attractive price, I think that's what our industry really needs,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, personally, no surprise, I'm sure, I love the classic Triumphs, the Bonnevilles and Bobbers and those, but the sport bikes are incredibly popular. We probably sell about 50% some kind of sport bike and adventure bike and 50% modern classics. So yeah, It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I mean, I don't want to be too personal here, but I assume that the markup that you get for the bike personally helped you out to recover from those months, plus the volume of sales, of course.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it all works. I mean, to make I learned a lot and I did a lot of research before I got into this. And I know a lot of people watching tonight either work in a dealership or have worked in one. So you kind of know the model. I mean, you can't make it all on just new sales. You have to have used bike sales. You've got to have a really effective service department, and you've got to have parts and accessories and manage the cost really well. But if you do all those things, well, and take care of the customers, I'll brag a little bit. We've got, I hope nobody goes out and gives us bad ratings now, but on Yahoo and Google and all the social media, we've got 4.9 or 5-star ratings. So we're really, we're basically enthusiasts, and it comes across. We just love motorcycles and love Triumphs, and if somebody wants to buy one, we're going to make that as pleasant an experience as we can.
So how'd you find your service technicians? That's what I want to know, because they are getting fewer and farther between.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So the service manager had a brew pub, and believe it or not, it was called Cannonball Brewery. Guy's heavily into
Get out.
motorcycles. No, seriously, and that's where I met him. I thought, well, this guy's got a brewery called Cannonball. I need to go meet the guy. So I met him, and he came to me at a bike event, one of these, ride bike night things, shortly before we opened. And he said, "Hey, Paul, I'm selling Cannonball." I said, "What do you mean you're selling Cannonball?" He was an airline pilot and airline mechanic, and this was his passion to build this thing up. And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And he just looked at me and he said, "I'm going to work at Triumph Indianapolis." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He said, "I don't care. What do you want me to do?" And so, I mean, he's perfect for the service department. So that's where we got the head guy. And then it is hard, but we found, it's an interesting group. We've got one of the senior technicians is a Japanese guy named Koji that came to the U.S. Many years ago to race flat track. So he's got, motorcycle oil in his veins, and a lot of fun to work with. And then we just keep looking. It is tough though. It's a tough market.
It definitely is. So let's get into switch gears a little bit and talk about where some of this passion that you've been talking about here recently really comes from. Let's talk about how you got into motorcycling and, about what age.
Yeah, so I was young, I guess probably 12 or 13. And my neighbor, Jim, who's still my best friend, had a mini bike, and we would ride that thing around. And then I needed something. So we found a Harley Davidson Leggero, if you know what that is. You probably do. It's
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 65cc. It's kind of like
Italian.
It's made in Italy, right? And it was basically like an really old motorcycle. It was a bicycle with an engine essentially. The shifter, I remember the shifter was like where the throttle is, and you just clicked it, different times to shift. It had 3-speed transmission, and I would run that thing for a few hours and burn a hole in the piston and then rebuild it and then run it again for a few hours and break something else on it. We were really hard on it and didn't have any idea what we were doing. But anyway, that's how I got started. And then about a few years later, still before I had a driver's license, I was at a friend's house and he said, "Hey, the guy across the street's got a motorcycle for sale. Let's go look at it." And it was a Triumph Tiger Cub, which is a 200cc
Cool
4-stroke. Yeah. Triumph made a lot of these things, and they were really popular. And they made them so that people would get hooked on the brand, and then buy a bigger Triumph. And I guess with me, it really worked, So I had that thing, and I let it go a few years later, and was always sorry. And a few years ago, I found a really nice one, so I have one again now in my collection. But yeah, and then a little bit later, many years later, after I worked in IT and engineering and had a good career doing that, I was having, segueing into the kind of the Cannonball era bikes. I was having dinner with a friend that was we were in a car club together, and he mentioned that he had a 1914 Indian that belonged to his grandfather bought new, and he inherited this thing, and it hadn't run in 50 years. So, you guys don't know me very well, but I'm a mechanical engineer, and I love anything mechanical. And when somebody tells me something doesn't run, that's like a challenge. We're going to get it running. So I said, "Bring it over." He said, "No, there's no way it'll ever run." I said, "Bring it over." So he brought it over, and it didn't take that much to get it running. And I got completely hooked on the technology of that, teens and 20s. Everything is made, like super precisely. And it was decades before they made stuff cheap and tried, just to make it fast. Just the craftsmanship. I remember that Indian had, and you guys, a lot of your bikes, people who are watching work this way, but they had that complicated linkage inside the handlebars that drove the timing advance of the throttle. Super cool.
Right.
People would kill to have that technology now, and it's all just, everything's, mass production, and you can't afford that kind of stuff now. Nobody would buy it, I guess. But I got hooked, and then my wife heard somehow about the motorcycle Cannonball and mentioned it to me, and I thought, well, that'd be cool. And I didn't really know anything about Triumphs from like 1965 or earlier. I didn't have any idea what products they made. But I thought, well, why what the heck? And so then I was with a work friend who's also one of my best friends, a guy named Ari, originally from South Africa. We were meeting at his house.
Oh, let me just interrupt and stop you 1 second, Paul, because you mentioned that you heard about your wife heard about the Cannonball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that when she talked about it and she explained kind of what it was? Tell us kind of what the thought process was in your mind about moving forward with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of grew on me over time. My initial thought was, these must be crazy people riding these bikes of that vintage, across the country.
And now they are, right?
Yeah, now they are. And how is this even possible that these things could still be able to do that, But I tell you what really sealed it, and this was when I met Jason for the first time. So it was the 2016 Cannonball. My wife and I flew to, I forget the Dodge City. The guy stopped in Dodge City for a day off, I think. And
right.
And we went just to check it out, and it just completely blew my mind when I saw these bikes. And then I met Jason. He said, "Yeah, if you want to get involved, here's how you do it," and super nice. And from then it was just a matter of, when am I going to do it and what kind of bike am I going to ride? So.
Cool. How did you know that it was always going to be a Triumph right away, or were you?
Oh yeah, I'm so it's crazy.
Or?
I mean, I've had a couple of other bikes over the years. The Harley. I had a Moto Guzzi with a sidecar that I really liked one time, but I'm just a Triumph fanatic. So, and when I saw the bike, there was one Triumph in the 2016 event, and I talked to that guy. It was a guy that came over from the UK to do the event. A real nice guy, and he gave me a lot of pointers and talked about it and the challenges that he ran up against, and so we were later engineered around kind of the challenges he had. But yeah, I wanted to do it on a Triumph, so I just started doing some research, and there's a picture of my bike now by Mount Rushmore. I found out that there's this thing that has a nickname of the Trusty Triumph, and it was this kind of World War I era 500cc single. There's my colleagues Skippy and Ari as we ride through the cornfields of I don't know what state. But it had this reputation for being reliable, and it looked super cool. And so I thought, well, I need one. And I had really a hard time finding one. So at the time I was still working, and I worked for a German company, and I would travel to Europe quite a bit. So I made a stopover in the UK and went to a guy that deals in those bikes of that era and bought the Model H that I ran from him. And I was talking to my friend Ari, and he said, well, you got to find me a bike too. So we worked together and found him a 1927 Model N, which is very similar. I mean, if you just glanced at it, you'd think it's the same model. And then really interesting.
Let's talk about the differences in them real quick, since you brought it up. Because I'm super curious of what they are.
So the model, my bike, the engine is basically the same, other than the Model N was the first one that had an oil pump. So my bike, like a lot of the Cannonball bikes, you have to manually pump oil into it. So every 5 or 10 miles, depending on how hot it's getting, you pump the pump on top of the tank and give it oil, and it either leaks out or burns up. So the model that he still had that feature, but it had an oil pump. It was just there kind of as a backup, but it actually had an oil pump built in. So that was one thing. And then it was also the first, that and the model right in between my bike and his was the first Triumph that had a Triumph-made gearbox. My gearbox was made by Sturmey Archer, which made gearboxes for Vincent and Norton and everybody.
And bicycles.
They did bicycle gearboxes. Those 3-speed hubs. That's Sturmey Archer. But they were heavily into motorcycle gearboxes, and they made them for everybody in like the early teens until people started doing their own. And it's an extremely rugged gearbox. You almost can't destroy it. 3 speeds, real basic, but real heavy gears in the thing. So yeah, that's the main difference. And then our buddy Skippy.
Now, how hard is it to really find parts and stuff for that?
So it's really hard to find anything original, particularly in the U.S. If you go to the UK, you go to a swap meet, you can find some stuff. But But this actually brings me to the third guy that was on our team, a guy named Skippy, who's lives in the UK. He repairs machine tools for a living, but he has this side business where he produces reproduction parts for the real early Triumphs. If it's a 1930, he doesn't want to talk about it because that's new stuff, you know. But if it's like a 28 or older, he's all over it. And he's got a website, and he sells, you know, not everything obviously, but the stuff that wears out, you can get it from him. This is him on the left, standing right behind bike number 30. Big jovial guy.
Does he have anything to do with Coventry Spares, or is that somebody totally different?
No, that's somebody, I know that gentleman too, but it's somebody totally different.
Okay.
And he's going to kill me, but I can't remember the name of his website right now. But it's, if you search for veteran and vintage, these old bikes in the UK, they call them veteran bikes, if they're like really old. A vintage bike is more like the 50s, you know. But if you search for Triumph veteran parts, then you would find Skippy's business. And he's got a nice website.
Yeah, I think it was actually like Veteran Triumph Spares or something like that. His website is. It's ringing a bell now.
Right, something like that. But anyway, it's funny. So Ari and I are in the UK looking for spare parts. That's where we went. We took a trip especially to do that. We went to this huge swap meet, which was awesome. And we're running around with bags full of parts. And we meet this. Skippy has a booth there selling stuff. And we got to know him a little bit. And then over time, we became friends. And then one day, Ari was talking to him, and he said to Ari, kind of in a quiet voice, he said, "So Ari, can I join this Cannonball thing?" And Ari said, "Well, yeah, I mean, see if you sign up, see if you can get in. You know, I don't know if it's full or not." And so he was able to get in, which Jason, I really am happy about that. And yeah, I mean, these guys that fly the bikes in from overseas, they spend, you know, it's a lot of time and money to make this happen. And he's the breadwinner for the family too. And so when he's not working, the money's not coming in. So it was a big commitment for him.
Let's take a look at the video you sent, because it introduces you and your partners in crime here.
Very good.
So we'll take a look, and we get to meet some of your buddies.
With that lively introduction, pleased to be with you today. My name's Paul, and I'm going to be number 90 in the 2018 Endurance Run, Motorcycle Cannonball. Super excited about being accepted, along with my two teammates, who I'll introduce here in a second. Became interested in motorcycles at a very young age. My first motorcycle was a 65cc Harley Davidson. I think it was made in Italy. A little tiny thing, and people made fun of me a bit. But then I upgraded pretty early on to a Triumph Tiger Cub. You may have seen one in the background here when we pulled in. I was able to find another one recently. And that got me hooked on Triumph, so I've been a Triumph guy my whole life for the most part. But I became interested in the really old bikes through a friend of mine who had a 1914 Indian twin that he had inherited and hadn't run in about 50 years, and which sounded like a challenge to me, which I always liked. So I said, "Bring it over, let's get it running." So he brought it over. It took quite a bit of work, but we got it running, and I just fell in love with the quality and the craftsmanship and the interesting engineering that was in the really old motorcycles. And through some of the Indian community, I learned about the motorcycle Cannonball, and started looking into that. Talked to my friend Ari about it. He got excited too, and we decided to finally do it. And since I'm a Triumph guy, like I said earlier, we wanted to do it, try to do it on Triumphs. So we got the Triumph Trusty. Mine's a 1920, and it was built for World War I use. And I figure if it can survive the war, it can surely make it across the United States. Ari, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Paul. Thank you. Good morning. Good day, colleagues. My name is Ari Redlingeis. I'm from Rochester in Michigan. I've been a Triumph nut forever, but my road to the Cannonball is a lot easier and a lot less complicated than Paul's. It's just all his fault. It's as simple as that. I've got a 1919 Model H, old trusty as Paul says. And yeah, very much looking forward to this challenge. I'll be bike number 17.
Hi, I'm Adrian Lockbury, also known as Skippy from the UK. I'm rider 30 in this year's Cannonball run. I'm riding my trusty Triumph 1925 Model P. I hope to see you there.
Ride on a motorbike. Play speed.
Well, that was fun.
We had a lot of fun making that. Did you see the drone in the picture? It almost hit me.
I did.
That was, it wasn't at the time, but the guy that was trying to drive that is now my son-in-law. We never give him an endless hard time about how terrible his drone piloting was.
I saw your partner there looking off to the side, wondering if he was going to get hit by the drone.
Exactly. But it was fun. Did you see the Woodford bottle in the background? That was part of the props.
I actually missed that.
Yeah,
we'll go back and look at it.
Looking at the motorcycles.
Jason, that one in the middle, right in front of the crate that we kind of got zoomed in on, that's the one I'm going to ride in the chase in a few weeks. It's a 46.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 350.
So let's bring that up. I mean, what's of changing motorcycles from that event to this event? What's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, well, you mean between the previous chase and this one?
You're right.
Yeah. So, well, it's kind of fun. So after the previous chase, I had quite a few challenges with my bike. I mean, I did make all the miles every day, which I'm really happy about, of course. But the thing was really falling apart by the end. And when I got it home, I just parked it. And then we started this dealership project, which consumed about 26 hours a day since I started it. But a few weeks ago, I got the bike out to start getting it ready. And the more I looked at it and the more pieces I took off, I realized it was, I needed like a year to get this thing ready. It was just no way it was going to be ready. There were just too many broken things that needed to be fixed. So I have the other bike I'm riding, I actually didn't really want to ride it because it's a 1946 and it's got less than 6,000 original miles on it. And so I was a little bit worried about, tearing it up a bit, but I decided I'm going to go and enjoy it and just take it really easy on the bike. And, maybe I won't be quite as competitive as I was in the other events, but I'll have fun and, the bike will get back home in good shape at the end. So that's the story. That's why I switched bikes.
Let's talk about some of the lessons that were learned doing the Cannonball. I understand you had some revelations.
I did have some revelations.
Let's talk about the bike and some eventful moments that you had with the bike. Being prepared and then realizing maybe you weren't or were.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest lesson learned I had, I got the bike ready and I was really happy with it, the Model H for the Cannonball. And I rode it quite a bit beforehand, particularly the week or two right before we left for the East Coast. And everything seemed good. So I was happy. So we go to Portland and everything's good. We load the bikes up, with all the parts and spares and tools and gasoline and oil and you name it. And the first day out, I don't think it was in the prologue. It was the first, long day. I'm going like 40 miles an hour, which is pretty fast on that bike. And all of a sudden it starts this knee slapping death wobble. And I thought, oh my God, I was 100% convinced I was getting ready to go off. And I was just looking at the pavement thinking how much that's going to hurt. And as luck would have it, one of the chase bikes, not from the chase, but from the Cannonball, no pun intended, with the medical team was behind me. And they stopped me and they said, "Are you all right? We thought you were going to kill yourself." And I said, "Yeah, everything's good." So the rest of the day, I rode a lot slower and tried to but it kept doing this wobble. And I think, clearly what the issue was, I had never ridden the thing with all this huge amount of weight that I had on the back. It's a light motorcycle. It's basically a bicycle with an engine. And I had, I don't know if it was 100 pounds or more than that of stuff on the back. And so we spent the first night in the pits. We went to Lowe's or somewhere and bought one of those welding torches and the little ones. And we cut up metal and just started welding braces every place we could think to, stick one to try to stiffen it up. It didn't really solve the problem. I just had to be really careful. I could feel it when it would start to come on, and it was interesting. It seemed to have a lot to do with the road surface. If you were on like brand new pavement, it would do it worse than if it was just, cement.
Well, I thought you were going to say you put saddlebags on the front and loaded it down.
Well, that would have been probably a better idea. But yeah,
it sounds like you had you needed more weight displacement because that front end is very light, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was one of the things. So I read, what do you do if your bike is doing this that night on the Google? And leaning forward over the handlebars is one of the things they recommend to kind of cure it. So I would do that too when it would start doing that. But it was still extremely scary the rest of the event, that thing wobbling like that. But the big lesson learned there for anybody that's getting ready maybe to do the Cannonball for the first time, test your bike out in the configuration that it's going to be run, and with all the weight and everything the way it's going to be, and then you'll find out pretty quickly if it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's actually a great tip for new riders out there for sure.
And your biggest surprise, Paul? What was your biggest surprise of the Cannonball after everything's said and done?
Yeah, I mean, it was so. We got into this thing to because we thought it would be fun, which it absolutely was. But when I thought about it, it's like, okay, we've got this truck and a trailer and an RV, and we've got 3 riders and all of our friends. So we had like 12 people.
Party time.
Yeah, and I thought this is going to be the best rolling party I have ever participated in my life. And while it was incredible fun, I promise you, in the evening you're working on your bike and maybe you have a beer or two, but there was, I think, only literally maybe 1 or 2 nights where we sat as a group and just sat and talked, and had kind of fun. So that was a big surprise. There's a shot of
there you are partying.
Yeah, how you like that party, right? Everybody looks
well.
Like
that's a Cannonball party right there. That's what it is.
So it's fun, but a different kind of fun. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have kind of the perceived notion that it's going to be a fun ride, and we're going to be partying every night, and kickstands down and beers up, but not many people get to experience it that way, for sure.
Yep, absolutely not.
So let's talk about, with being with 2 other guys, and how many support crew did you have along with that at the time?
So there were a total of 9. So my wife, Ari's wife, that's cool. I like that. Skippy's best friend and his son were with us. And then we had my best friend, Jim, I mentioned him earlier, and Graham, another friend of Ari's, was there. And then a friend of Ari's from South Africa came for part of the event. So we had a lot of help. It was actually fun working on the bikes in the evening because you had a lot of help and support. And we brought, that trailer and RV were thousands of pounds of stuff. We had a lathe, we had a lift, we had a welder. And we used, you can see the stuff laid out, and we used all that stuff. I was lucky. I'd like to think well prepared, but I think it was more luck. My bike, we had to do very little to. But I know
that sprocket.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's my bike with the big sprocket. There was I found this after we got back. There was a little small town newspaper halfway through the event that wrote an article about the Cannonball, but the title of the article was Triumph Super Sprocket. And I just ran across this thing when I was Google searching one night, and I looked at it, and there's my bike. Anyway, the short story on the sprocket is in 2018 or 16, when I talked to the British guy that came over and did the event, one of the biggest problems he had was with the belt. It came with a belt originally, so the belt would get oily, and then it would rain, and then the belt would just spin on the sprocket. And he said he had to get up and
that thing is massive.
So
I never noticed that.
So Jim and I did that.
How'd you even get to 40 miles an hour with a sprocket that big?
Well, but once you get it going, there's a lot of momentum, But anyway, the reason it's that big for two reasons. One is we had to keep the same gear ratio, and that's how big the pulley was, originally.
Oh God.
The other thing is the way the frame is built. There's like literally a loop out to the side where the belt runs, and the chain had to run through that same spot. There was no other way it would reach the engine. So anyway, that's what we did, and that thing worked. I mean, I was worried about that. I thought if I make it half a day and that thing doesn't fly off or something terrible happen, I won't be surprised. But never had the second issue with that super sprocket.
That's great.
I love it.
That's a cool thing. So I imagine the front pulley was so small that you had to go that big in the back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because I couldn't make the front one any smaller. There wasn't, space to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's very cool. So I think we have some pictures here. Maybe we can roll through some photos here, and then I think there's some questions from the audience that
Awesome.
maybe we can address on the other side of the photos. So let's take a look at some of the pictures you've supplied.
So this is Skippy's clutch and part of his gearbox during the other thing that was a learning for me, Jason, was the rest day that's in the middle. I didn't see anybody resting. This was so Skippy he broke a tooth off of a gear, and he's a machinist, so he went to, somebody set up an arrangement with the machine shop. He went and made a gear for his gearbox and reassembled it. And it worked fine the rest of the trip. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But that's what that is we had this lift gate on the back of the RV, and that stuff spread out like dinner, like a picnic. Yeah, these are at my house in Indianapolis before we left. The three
amigos.
Yep. So mine's on the left, and then one in the middle is Skippy's, and then the one that's coming up now is Ari's. They never looked that good again. They were covered with grime and oil and dirt and you name it. But they certainly started off the event looking mighty fine, I have to say.
Right.
Now they all look alike. Did you ever grab the wrong motorcycle in the morning?
No, we're all pretty familiar with our bike. They do look very similar. Triumph was in a bit of a rut, and even some of the other manufacturers in England, but they used that same exact paint scheme on every motorcycle they produced for about 15 years. I don't know what they were thinking, but in fact, you see the one behind me has this 1911 we were talking about earlier, exact same paint, and they used it up until I think about 1928 or something.
Right, and it's their logo in the middle of the green, right?
Right.
Birmingham.
Yeah, it's a super cool
Triumph.
Yeah, super cool logo.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
We have any other pictures up there, Chris?
That's my entire motorcycle in mid-July before the event in October. So that's
what?
So I had a lot of work to do at this. I think I know because they told me. My friends thought it was not going to happen. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it back together. But it needed to come apart and get cleaned and painted and put back together. So.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing.
But now this is interesting. When I could talk a long time about Cannonball Baker. So I didn't know any of what I'm getting ready to tell you until we get involved with the event. But Cannonball Baker was born in Indiana, lived most of his life in Indianapolis, and he's buried, that you saw his gravestone there, like 2 miles from my house where I live.
Oh, no kidding.
So
wow.
we thought it would be cool. I don't know, maybe a little more, but we went and kind of paid our respects. Skippy and Ari was still in Germany on business, and so he didn't join us that day. But that was, I think, the day or maybe 2 days before we left. For another thing, there's all kinds of cool facts about Cannonball Baker, but he won the first race that was held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was a motorcycle race before they started doing car races there. On an Indian, he was a big Indian guy.
Right. It's interesting. The headstone just says Cannonball Baker. Does it say his name, his formal name anywhere on there?
Yeah, his name's Irwin. It's on there, I think, in small print. I don't know if we can see that picture again, but I thought it was on there. Maybe it's not.
Is it? I mean, it would be unusual, but is it on the other side? Maybe, I don't know.
You know where I think it is? Can you zoom out? I think maybe there were some stones on the ground. Because I remember there's like his son is buried there too. A little bit of a so his son had some kind of dental issue and died from an infection, and it was when he was on one of these motorcycle trips, and I guess he never forgave himself. You know, that his son was young at the time, like a teenager or something. But his son is buried there too. So I think maybe it's
a nice tribute.
Yeah, we've been trying for a long time to, get the event to go through that particular area, because I think it would be kind of a, just a neat checkpoint stop to,
absolutely
to
it
do
would.
that, and photo opportunity for people.
Yeah, and of course, if you ever do organize that, you have a place for a lunch stop or a dinner stop here at the dealership. We'd love to have you. We have plenty of room.
Heck yeah. Love to have it at the dealership along with Cannonball Brewing.
Absolutely.
Well, we'd have to make it a nighttime stop so we could actually.
Well, Cannonball Brewing. Cannonball Brewing sounds like a sponsor, Jason. That sounds like somebody to hit up for a sponsorship.
Hey, personal sponsorship.
Yeah, there you go. Well, believe it or not, after my friend who works with me now sold it, the guys changed the name. It's called something else.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, which is super unfortunate. I mean, you can imagine how bummed out he was, and I was too. But,
Right. Yeah, the guy actually sent me a lot of cool swag, stickers and a couple cups and stuff from there, which I was very fortunate, and I still have that stuff. So.
Yeah. So hopefully you can come through Indianapolis. There's, it's a little bit flat riding around here, but the southern part of the state, and I know you've gone through the southern part of the state before with the Cannonball. It's wonderful riding area.
Right.
So we had a couple questions, kind of all on the same subject of vintage Triumphs.
Okay.
And somebody wanted to know if you'd consider, or if you knew where they could get a Rocket 3. I guess it's 6970. One guy wants to know if Scott Funk wanted to know if you want to sell that Indian. Which I guess
the Indian for sure is not for sale, and the Triumph race bike in the background also for sure is not for sale. But Scott, it's nice. It's nice that you're listening. Scott and I became friends on the Chase. Super nice.
Nancy Weems is looking for a 49 Triumph. Which it kind of brings us to the point. Had you ever considered possibly picking up vintage bikes and selling them, making them roadworthy and selling them through the dealership? Because it seems like from what I'm seeing tonight, there's a lot of interest in people trying to pick up, mid 60s Triumphs and whatnot.
Right. So when we first got involved with this dealership, and the vision I had and still have is I want to be able to offer vintage bikes for sale, and I also want to advertise that we'll work on any Triumph ever made, from 1902.
Wow, that's great.
Up to the current. Now so that was my vision up until we opened the doors, and I realized that with the current facility we have in terms of the space, the actual physical space, and how busy we are with the new Triumphs, it's just we haven't had a chance to really do anything with it. But I'd like to be able to expand a little bit, physically in the dealership, and then start doing some what I consider a lot more interesting things. I mean, I love selling the new Triumphs; they're wonderful machines. But my passion, is obvious, I guess, or the real.
Well, there is a real need for vintage Triumph and BSA guys out there, right?
Right, exactly. So, and we have people come in, if not once a week, at least once every other week, asking, where can I buy an old Triumph? Where can I get my old Triumph worked on? I mean, we could easily be full-time working on old Triumphs. There's no question about that.
Right.
So I hope to get there.
Probably be Paul. Good,
Yep.
good. Well, I wish you all the luck and success with that. That's sounds like you're headed in the right direction.
Well, I think so.
I don't even know how.
If-
With that, how do you truly find time to do the chase in the Cannonball this year? I mean, that's got to be kind of stressful.
Right. Well, absolutely. Absolutely it is. But, we're just going to make it. I just committed that it's going to happen, and we're going to make it work, So,
Well,
and it's
you're holding down the fort most of the week, so now it's time for somebody else to step up for a while, right?
Yeah, everybody works hard, but I'm here early, and we're closed on Monday like most dealerships are. It's kind of traditional, but I'm always in here.
We're running out of time, but tell us a little bit about your blog, and then Jason has his question he asks every week. So, tell us a little bit about your blog.
My blog?
Yeah, your blog.
Well, I don't do a lot of blogging, but I did a blog during the chase, which was pretty cool, and I tried to update everybody every night, so that kind of got me hooked on it. This thing that we're looking at now, this is really interesting. So before we did the Cannonball, I wrote to, this was before I was involved with Triumph at all. I didn't know anybody at the company. So I wrote to him and I said, hey, there's this thing called Motorcycle Cannonball. It's super cool. It's across the whole United States. And we got 3 Triumphs and we're going to ride in this thing. You should write an article about us for you. We're looking at the Triumph online magazine here. And I didn't hear anything back. So I thought, well, okay. And I tried again, still heard nothing back. And so then we did the Cannonball. And 2 of the 3 Triumphs, made all the miles every day, and I won the division I was in, which was super cool. And so I wrote to them one more time, and then they immediately called, like 30 minutes later. We want to write an article about this. So they they actually hired a writer in the U.S. to write this story about it. So it's just, if you go to triumphmotorcycles.com, there's a section called For the Ride. It's their online magazine. If you just search for Cannonball, up pops this really cool article that they did.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. If back to just for a second to the old Triumphs, I do have a lot of friends and I'm involved in the community of old British stuff. If anybody wants to write me an email, my email is super simple. It's GM, like general manager, at triumphindianapolis.com. Then I can either maybe help them or at least get them hooked up with somebody that can help them.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yep.
That's,
glad to do that.
That's the thing about our community is helping everybody out on this type of thing and finding different things. And, I think the last couple of years I've really seen, kind of an upsweep in some of these different type of units of some of these earlier ones, like the Triumphs and the BSAs and the Nortons. And, it's kind of neat to see and follow and learn about them. And, I personally like it to see it and follow it. And, to me, it's a learning experience, just to see some of this kind of things and get to know them, since I've been really kind of an American guy for, pretty much most of my collecting hobbying time. So it's neat to see it and be able to follow you guys and, see the progress that you're making on a lot of these things. And it's really getting me kind of involved in looking at, different brands for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all cool in their own way. That's for sure. All the different brands.
They are.
There were some unusual things on the Cannonball last time. What was that one? The Nera car?
That is a weird one.
Oh man, that guy gets extra credit for riding that thing. I'll tell you.
Exactly. Well, even like your guys' bikes, they were pretty small bikes for the size of people that you guys are. I'm not saying that you're big, but you're taller in stature.
Right.
And,
yeah.
Yeah,
we did.
It almost looks like you guys were riding mini bikes. It was just great.
Right.
And you guys, really kind of almost looked military, like, going down the road just in formations all the time. And it's really neat to see.
Yeah, I remember that one Harley dealer that let some of us put our bikes on the dyno. Guys, do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that's cool.
So I did that with my bike. I know you can't see this, but I've got the printout they gave us. It developed a shocking 5.5 horsepower. So there you go.
Holy cow.
You hit 5. You broke the 5 record.
There you go. Well, they advertised it as 4.5, so I was actually quite happy that it was doing 5.5. You know,
That's that sprocket, man.
that probably was the super sprocket. Yeah,
Super sprocket.
Heck yeah. So, hey, we are running out of time. I promised the engineers, because they want to get on the road tonight to an event, that we would try to keep it a little bit shorter tonight. I know we could sit here all night and chat, but I want to kind of just round out with one of my questions that I ask week after week. Besides being on the chase this year, what can we kind of expect from Paul Warrenfelt? What's next on the bucket list in the next year, and what's your next year look like?
wow. No, that's an interesting question. So, I think, for me personally, finding a way to go back to this vision that we talked about a few minutes ago, and trying to, during my day job, get a bit more involved with the really vintage and old and classic bikes would be something I really want to do. And for sure, continue to participate, Jason, in your events. This is the community and the friends that you make, and the time, the memories you take away from that. It's just, it doesn't matter what it costs. It's worth it, I think. So that's, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remains on my list.
Excellent. We'd love to have you on any event that we ever do, for sure. And it's just a real treat to see you and, your team of people. For one, it's different. You guys are doing something that's a little bit out of the normal, of bringing some of the different brands that we don't get to see all the time. And for me, that's a treat. And I think it's a treat for a lot of the guys.
Yep. Excellent.
So, I'd love to. I'm planning on probably right after the chase. Even before the chase. I've been wanting to come see your place for a year now, since you've been open almost a year. Travel plans have been a little tough this year, but before the chase or after the chase, I plan on coming hanging out for a day or so and checking the place out, and maybe then we can do a little bit of live and some filming there for some upcoming
That'd be
stuff.
fantastic. Yeah, maybe we can do some riding too. We got plenty of bikes.
That'd be awesome. Heck yeah. So I guess with that, I want to tell everybody out there, if you are in the Indianapolis area, make sure you stop in and check out this great new dealership that's there. Stop in, learn something. I'm sure you got some bikes on display that they can see. Check out the new bikes. Stop and talk to Paul. I'm sure he'll give you a few minutes of time and talk old bikes. And just help support them guys out there. So I guess with that, they're telling me that we need to get rolling. So again, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. Just a short little bit of time. We'll see you here in Cape Girardeau, and then hopefully I'll see you at the dealership. And
Sounds
excited to see the next Triumph on the next journey, and see how it really does.
Awesome.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Gentlemen, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Heck yeah. So
how about that, Jason, huh?
That was great. That was great. I wish we really had some more time, because I know we could get into a few more things, and it was just a great interview tonight. Paul's a great guy. We got to get back to work. I've got a few more hours of stuff to do tonight. I know Chris and Heather on the backside of this thing have got to get going to an event.
Well, real quick though, I think let's just mention the riders program again for the motorcycle chase. I think Chris has something for us that he wants to share. So
Yeah, we're
Tell us a
we're
little bit
super
about
excited.
it. There you go.
Yeah, so we're super excited about this. We're going to be doing one for both the Cannonball and the Chase. Um, it'll really kind of give a history of both events. It'll look back at some of the past events. I mean, so for the Chase, really we have the one event. We'll have a great pictorial from Michael Lichter. We'll give some history on it. The bonus part of it is that we will be featuring all the riders for this year. So we'll have a picture of them and a picture of their motorcycle, a brief little history, get to see what they're riding. I think this will be great. I mean, even for the people that come to the event and come to see us, this will be a great keepsake, a very, very collectible. We're doing it very, very high end. A great way to get signatures and autographs, all that kind of stuff from your favorite rider, and actually get to know and get a little bit more intimate with the people that participate in these events. So super, super excited about it. People have been begging us for years to do it. Luckily, we have a team put together now where we can put this together and bring you a great quality product. So we will have these for sale online before the event, so you can get them ahead of time. If you can't make it, we'll ship these things worldwide to all you guys. Yeah, we're excited.
When will these be available? Do we know yet?
So we're printing the Chase one. Will actually be probably just right before the event. We are. I wouldn't say we're behind schedule on it, but we're a little pressed for time, and we want to make sure that the riders give us some good quality stuff and some content for it. We want to make sure it's good for you guys. So probably a week, 10 days before the event, we'll actually have them in our hand. We may look at doing a little bit of a pre-sale on them ahead of time. We are making them a little bit limited edition, and then of course we will have them on the event at all the stops that we are at.
And it's got the Michael Lichter photography in it too, right? You said
it does.
So that's pretty cool. So kind of like a high school yearbook kind of thing, or photo album for everybody.
I guess you could look at it that way. We've actually even toyed with the idea of taking the rider profile pages and making them into a collectible trading card, like a baseball card.
I was going to ask you that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, where riders could pass them out to other riders or pass them out to people that you meet, on the road, because we have a lot of onlookers and they ask a lot of questions. And, it's one of those things that, if a little kid comes and sits on your bike or asks some questions or wants to take a picture with it, something that you can give them as a little keepsake or a memento. So hopefully we'll have some more information on that here real quick. But
great idea.
I think it'll be a great idea,
And I'm being told we have direct from Brazil watching us tonight is Ricardo Freitas. Thank you for watching us. I believe he's watching on Chopper Town. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Chopper Town, all our sponsors. We're coming to you from street level today via Cycle Source magazine, which is 50 floors below through their studio. But I want to thank Cycle Source, Source Media, Chopper Town, all our sponsors. Couldn't do it without you, and especially you, the people watching tonight. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for supporting us. And for me, I'm going to say goodnight and thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys next week. Same time. Same Antique
place.
Motorcycle channel.
Y'all be good.
See ya.